So my name is Dr. Rose Misati. I'm a public health specialist, behavior change expert, certified life coach, relationships counselor, and parenting coach. I'm the founder and director of Effective Parenting Solutions Limited. I help people heal from their past hurt so that they can handle their emotions, clarify their life goals, manage conflict, and lead effective lives as they enjoy fulfilling relationships. So today, I'm going to share my story as far as trauma is concerned. I'm not here now as a professional, but I'm here as somebody who has survived complicated trauma. I was born in a family, we were born 8, we survived 6. My mother was a teenage mother, about 15 to 17 years. She was married to my father, who was a widower, who was quite advanced in age, close to 60 years. You ask why she was married to him? She was married to him because my grandfather felt that my father would give him dowry, cows, animals, livestock, so that he can use it to educate his sons. My mother came from a polygamous home. So my mother being married here to an elderly man as a teenager, she got children. My father died when she was in her 20s. So she's uneducated or with little education, a teenage mother with several children. And it was very difficult for her. Now, something else is that my mother came from a family where they used to drink alcohol. Let me not say alcoholics. So when my mother would be stressed, she would take to alcohol. So she would take alcohol. I'm the third born in the family. So I grew up in this community where, number one, I am fatherless. Fatherlessness is really a deep wound that probably only those who have grown up without fathers in a patriarchal society can experience, can imagine. So I didn't have a father, and we were stigmatized in this community not having a father. My mother having little education, so we were poor. It was very difficult to put food on the table. Talk about even going to school now was very difficult, but she would struggle. She really did her best. She would struggle. So I would go to school and I would do my best in terms of reading whatever I find, but it was very difficult even to access medical care, to have adequate food, to have even decent shelter and even clothing. Fast forward, my response was a fight response, whereby I decided I will never be a victim again because I was seeing what my mother was going through in a patriarchal society, where as a widow, she really went through a lot, and I said, I don't want to go through this. Something else I observed in this community is that I saw over 90% of the women in my circles were being abused, domestic violence. And this domestic violence was even normalized. It was even like it's a normal thing for a woman to be abused at that point by men. I also, definitely there was alcoholism because my mother was drinking. So a lot of times as a child, I would be taking care of my siblings. At about 9-10 years, I remember taking my sister to clinic, walking more than 10 kilometers with a child on my back for clinic. I had to worry where I'm going to get food for my siblings. There are times I had to miss school because my mother is in the market selling things, and I had to take care of my brothers and sisters, take them for clinic as a child. So I missed school. That was very difficult. However, as I said, fight response. I worked extremely hard. I passed very well in my standard 8 to go to high school. So I got admission to a national school. I went to this school, I didn't have much. I didn't have sanitary products. I didn't have, what to use, toothpaste, soap, books, uniform. I just had, things I had borrowed, and it was very difficult. So in the school, I experienced a lot of stigma and a lot of discrimination. So as you can see, this trauma kept on following me, the poverty. There was always at the back of my mind this thing of I may not have enough food, I don't know about tomorrow. And then because my father died when I was very young, so I don't remember the funeral burial process, I don't remember. So I always had struggled with what we call abandonment. Anytime I got close to somebody, I feared they might actually die or, go away or leave me. Now, when I was in Form 4, and I think that is going to be the focus of what I'll share, when I was in my O-levels, during my O-levels that year, my family went through a lot of trauma. My sister, who was 13 years at the time, died. She had been sickly for some time, and she died. Unfortunately, I could not go to bury my sister because of lack of fare, transport. I was schooling about 300 kilometers away from home, so I didn't know about it. There were no mobile phones. I go home over the holiday, I'm being shown a grave. That was really deeply traumatic. At that same year, when it was the year of my O-levels, as I said, my elder sister, who had got a job as a primary school teacher, who would have supported the family, elementary school, she got very sick. For close to a year, she was in hospital. My mother was taking care of her in hospital. So that meant during the holidays, I was left to take care of my brothers and sisters. I've got no means of income. So this is what I used to do. I would go to people's shambas after they have harvested. Then I look for the maize, you know, the maize they have left behind. I look for the produce, I pick, I collect, and then I go to sell in the market to get money. Remember, I'm in my O-level. That year I'm meant to sit my KCSE, my O-level. So I have to sell and provide for my siblings. A lot of time we went without food. My mother is in hospital. So my other sister has died. And I've not buried her. So again, unresolved trauma. That cemented my abandonment issue. Because my dad died, I can't remember. My sister has died. I've not been allowed to, I've not been given an opportunity to grieve. And then I felt very helpless because I was crying. My mother said, my daughter, there's nothing I could do, because she didn't have any money. And she said the people who could have made decisions, they told her, just keep quiet and there's no money. So your daughter will not know, she'll not come to bury the sister. That was very difficult for me. Not to forget that my school fees was unpaid. And I need to be in school, I need to pass. However, as I said earlier on, mine has always been the fight response. So I said, what can I do? What can I do? So in school, I was reading anything and everything. I was reading anything and everything. Remember, I didn't say this, but when I was in primary school and there were no books to read, I used to read old newspapers that have been used to wrap meat. You know, people, those days, newspapers used to be used to wrap meat. Then people will remove and throw them all over. So I would pick the newspapers which have blood, hide them pieces, not really newspapers, and read. Because I needed to read anything that had print in it. Up to now, I love reading. I've read maybe over 10,000 books. I really love reading. So I worked extremely hard because I said I will never want to be poor, helpless, and hopeless, and powerless again. So now, while I'm in Form 4, about to sit my O-levels, we would close for holiday. I didn't have fare to go back home to the village, 300 kilometers. A relative who was living in the city near my school came out and said, you can come to my place, an older man, okay? He was in his 50s. So when I would go to his place for holiday, he attempted to sexually abuse me severally, okay? This is not a young person. In fact, he had 9 children, and the 6th born was my age mate. His wife was in the village, was living in the city. So he tried to sexually molest me many times. I couldn't tell anybody because he was a respected member of society back in the village. And if I said because the wife was my relative, I was going to be accused of trying to snatch somebody's husband. So here I am, there are no mobile phones, I have no other relative in Nairobi, I have nowhere to go, I'm confined with this man. He repeatedly attempted to sexually abuse me. And when I resisted, we would be traveling home to the village, me with his children. We are in the bus, in the vehicle, going home. He will pay transport fare for his children. He would ignore me. Because I didn't have clothes, I would be in this oversized school uniform. So the person, the conductor collecting fare will come. He asks for my receipt. I don't have anything, so I would look at him. So the conductor looks at me, he looks at the man. I look at the conductor, I look at the man. Then the man will just be adamant, he won't pay for me fare, but I knew it because I had turned him down anytime he was attempting, trying to force himself on me. So we get, eventually by the time we are nearing home, my hometown, he would, I think, out of embarrassment, pay the fare. But then when we get to my hometown, he's not willing to pay for me fare to get to my village. And that was very hard. And so I had to find a way of going back to the village. So I go home, I'm getting home, my sister has died. I'm struggling with this thing of having been sexually violated. He didn't get to, rape me, but he really tried. I want to share, but I don't know who to share with. I don't know who can believe me. So I got to school, and what really helped me during that time is journaling. I used to write a lot. So I got to school, I worked extremely hard. By the time I completed my O-levels, I emerged as the top student in my school, and I got a grade that had not been seen before in my school, a very high grade. So with that, at least I had opportunity to join university, to get into my dream career, my dream course, which was good, and I was sponsored by the government. I got a loan. You know, in Kenya, we call it Higher Education Loans Board. So I was able to save on it and take care of my family back home, try and support my mother, and do a few things here and there. And so out of that, I finished my first degree, you know, got a good job with the government. Then I was able now to support my family back home. So how did I get to the point now where I realized this trauma has affected me? I realized that I was a codependent in relationships. I was always trying to rescue people. My relationships were always about picking the most broken person, in quote, trying to rescue them. I was like the family hero, the family martyr. I was getting run down. I was getting a breakdown because I was really tired. Another thing is that I was doing course after course, degree after degree. I was always in school. My certificates are like this. Always in school, and very driven. There is a time I used to work for 24 hours. And this is Kenya, this is third world. I had 2 jobs. So I had a job in the government where I used to work during the day, government hospital. Then I had another job in a private hospital, which I was working at night. So I would go sometimes without bathing. So I've worked at night in private. I just brushed my teeth, and I didn't have a car then. So I would use a matatu, or I wasn't competent driving. So, I'm connecting, you know, 2 matatus. I go to my government job. I worked like that 24 hours for some time. And at some point, I was even expecting my firstborn, working like that, because I believed I had to work, rescue my family. So this trauma was taking a toll on my body, and my relationships were not fulfilling. So I got into a journey of reading. I read everything about trauma. I have read so many books, and I could identify myself in this. I watched videos, you know, I got into support groups. It was a long journey, walking through this, but being aware. Eventually, I got in touch with a professional. I got a coach and a trauma, a trauma coach. She helped me go through this process, and I was able to process. I realized I had never grieved my father. I had never grieved my sister. So I could not, it was very hard for me to handle funeral, grief. I used to get so emotional. I even see a hearse, or I see a funeral, I watch something on TV, and I would be beside myself with sorrow. If I go for a funeral service, I would mourn, I would weep. I would actually weep much more than the people who are bereaved. So you wonder whether I'm the one who has gone to comfort them or not. It was so uncontrollable. Sometimes I would be driving to work. I reach somewhere and I just begin crying and wailing. And then I park the car on the side and I cry. And I remember my sister, I remember my father. And then I had this impending abandonment thing. Anytime I get into a relationship, I feel like the person may leave. So I was very strong, appearing very independent, and I would not let myself be vulnerable. So that was affecting my relationships because I was appearing a very strong person. And then again, people didn't know how to meet my needs because they always saw Rose as this strong person, always giving, but never in a position to receive. So people didn't know how to give. And again, I didn't know how to ask for help. I would go through something, I suffer alone because I don't know how to ask for help. So I realized that was taking a toll on me because people are seeing the external that is so strong and independent, but deep down I'm so needy and so vulnerable. What did healing do for me? I now have a small circle of friends. I'm no longer with the crowds I used to have. I was very extroverted, very social, and I had a crowd of people who it was basically a rescue mission. I now had to let some relationships fall through the cracks. I have a small circle of friends. Friends I know, if I need maybe financial resources, there's somebody I can reach. If I need to talk, there's somebody I can reach. If I need somebody to run an errand for me, there's somebody I can reach. I'm also there for them. And then I find it easier now to reach out. I say, please, I'm struggling. Can we talk? Then it wasn't possible. I've learned that no is a complete sentence. When I feel I'm being pushed to the wall or I can't support, I'm not able at that point, I can say, please, no, can we do this another time? Previously, when somebody says, can we meet? I'm here. Can we meet? I would meet people deep into the night because they wanted to meet me. Until one day when I was in university, some friends were going through social challenges and I had an exam the following day. Imagine I entertained them in my house, trying to fix their issues, which were not an emergency. I didn't read for that exam. So I went to that exam, and that was the first exam, can I say, I've failed in my life. I failed that paper. So I had to do a supplementary. My transcript from university has a star. One of the subjects has one of the units has a star. Because yes, I did a supplementary and scored highly, but you see it has a star because I failed. And it wasn't because, and I had attended all the classes, I had the notes, but I didn't have time to go through. So that was the kind of person I was, trauma response. But now I can say, no, if somebody wants to come visit, a greatest win for me, when somebody wants to come and visit, I can actually say, it's not possible today, can we arrange another time? Previously, I would have visitors. People would come even when I don't feel like I'm cooking, I'm washing, and I used to think I'm very hospitable, and you know, I like entertaining, I'm generous, but no, it was just a matter of me, you know, fond response, trying to fit in and being codependent and wanting to rescue. Now, another win that I've got through my healing is that initially I was oscillating between overparenting my children and being abusive. Sometimes I would be very harsh because I saw my mother was overwhelmed largely when she was raising us. So she would explode on us and sometimes even beat somebody senseless or even say a lot of nasty things. I don't blame her because of what she was going through. So at some point I realized I was having angry outbursts at my children, even when it's really not, it's childishness, not willful disobedience. So now I'm now more empathetic towards my children. At some point, I used to overparent them. I overprovide, I overprotect, because I don't want my child to suffer the way I have suffered. So I was overdoing it. I wasn't giving my children an opportunity to learn life skills. That is a work in progress, but it has since changed. Another thing is that in my romantic relationship now, my relationship with my husband, I know he has his story, but from my end, I would carry all the weight. Like I don't ask him, please can you support me in this? I would appear strong and do everything to the point that I think I would disempower him. He would get disempowered because he would feel like he's not needed. But now I'm able to do this and I tell him, okay, so can you do this? So I can do this. So I acknowledge that he also has a role to play. I have a role to play. Now the other way is I was always thinking I'm God's gift to humanity. So anytime I go somewhere, I was the Miss Fix-It-All. Anytime I go somewhere, I'm quick to see things that are not working and I want to fix. Nowadays, I don't advise, I suggest, I give people information, I let them to decide. And that means I don't feel very overwhelmed, I don't feel angry and resentful. Because if somebody chooses to do it, they do. If they don't, it's not my life, it's not those are not my values. So out of this, I realized I need to also help other people to go through the journey that I have gone through. So that is when I underwent training. So to do what I am doing, I found my company. And so I have a passion. I'm very passionate about helping other people because I've been able to achieve so much. I'm living my purpose. I'm living my best life ever, especially when I'm able to help somebody and I can see, you know, somebody, I have put a smile on somebody's face. My message today is that you can heal. In case you identify that you've gone through trauma that is not processed, there's a lot of blessings and a lot of opportunities. You are denying yourself by living in your trauma. Nobody needs to carry and process trauma because other than it affecting you, it's actually transferred from generation to generation. So you owe yourself, you owe your children, you owe society, you actually owe it to God for you to heal so that you can live your purpose. Look at it like peeling back the masks. You know, you're peeling back the masks, you are removing all that, just like gold, you know, like the way we say gold that is refined. You know, you need to remove all the slime and the mud and the dirt. Then once you are refined, you're a blessing to yourself, a blessing to your family, and a blessing to the society as well. And I feel that's a journey that somebody needs to take. Healing is not a destination, it's a journey. Every day we get better and we heal in layers, just like an onion. Even up to now, I've been at my healing journey. Every day I'm doing something towards my healing. And yet there are times I get triggers. You know, I realize there's a layer, there's something that hasn't been healed. Because part of what I had to heal was sexual healing, because I went through that trauma of, you know, sexual abuse. So it really affected even my intimate relationships. So then I had to heal so that I can embrace this blessing of sexuality that we have all been given to God. So you can heal. There is hope for everybody.